Hi everybody, this is Irina and welcome to From Zero to $100 Million podcast, where we talk to very interesting people working in different domains, tech, investing, all of the areas that you can imagine. And the goal of the podcast is basically for you to learn a thing about how to build your career, have a more successful life, and live the life to the fullest. And today, my guest is Andrea Piazza, who is an angel investor with almost 40 startups invested into her portfolio. She's also the co-author of Angel Investing Explained, available also in Portuguese and Spanish version in Amazon. I'm going to link that in the bio, so make sure you check it out. Andrea is a technical undergrad and an MBA and has started her career in IT and then advising companies on strategy through consulting projects. She also mentors startups and recently turned back to tech to help bridge AI and ML to strategy and consulting projects. She has completed programs at MIT, Bocconi, and Wharton, among others. She's fluent in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. She lives in Madrid and spends her time mostly in between Brazil and Spain. So welcome. Happy to meet you. So tell me, we were chatting earlier, so congrats on the launch of the book. But also I wanted to start a bit with your background. You said you are from Brazil and now you told me you're in Madrid. So can you walk me through it? Like how your career has started and how did you get here?
Started my career in Brazil, where I was born and raised. I did courses abroad, like I did my MBA abroad, but my undergrad was done in Brazil. Fast forward a couple of years, married, we came to live in Spain as a family. I loved it, and in 2019, and then I was back to Brazil for a while, and in 2019 I decided to move here and change a little bit my life. So I'm like in between Brazil and Spain now, but I spend most of my time here.
So, given your background, thank you for sharing that. And it seems like you're a person open to change. You started angel investing. You did more than 40 companies. Right now, you're like, you could say, accredited angel investors. You've seen so many pitches. What made you start writing your book?
Well, I started investing in companies in groups mostly. No, I invested individually also, but also in syndicates and groups. And after a couple of years, me and my co-author, Cynthia, we were trying to foster more women investing through the groups we participated with together. And by doing that, we noticed that many women were not like very engaged into investments in general and in startups. So we decided, why don't we write a book? Because I think the book can be good for everybody. It's like the basics, like guides, like a guide, for basic topics on angel investing. But maybe people seeing that two women are writing a book about this theme will try to break some barriers. So that was one of the motivations. And the other one is that I really believe in innovation and how it's changing the world so fast. And I see many people who would like to invest in startups. I think it's too much for them, needs too much money. And I think there are many barriers, that people don't see how they can start. So we decided if you put everything in a guide, like in a book, where all the main concepts, maybe to make people more into investing in early stage startups, which I believe really is a key pillar for the environment, for the ecosystem, because if you don't incentivize the early stage, then you don't have the later stages, right? So I would say we had the main motivations for the book were these two. So we want to spread the word about angel investing, to have more angel investors, and if possible, more women investing also.
That's awesome. It's great to hear, and I love to see initiatives like this. Like we were chatting earlier, I do interact with a fair share of investor, and I would love to see more women doing this and investing into startups and investment in general. So what would you say, what type of resources does one need in order to become an angel investor?
I think, of course, you need some money to invest, because it's a risk asset. So it shouldn't be like your main investment, but you don't need too much because there are many types of ways to invest in startups. Can start like a very small amount of money through crowd investing. You can join groups, there are many ways. You don't have to be like a billionaire writing checks to be able to invest in startups. So this is one thing, no? Another thing that I think it's important to have some skill to evaluate the deal, because otherwise you are putting your money on something, no? It cannot be just because you like the person who is like leading the startup. So there should be some skills for you to be able to evaluate if it's a sound business, if the team is like resourceful enough and skilled enough to make it grow, if the problem they're trying to solve, it's interesting, has like a good market to grow, if they have the nice, at least some sounded ideas of how to make this company grow, what are the go-to-market strategies. So there are a bunch of concepts that I think are important besides the deal, no? Understand what's in a deal, what's the deal structure, what's the term sheet, what's the cap table, It's like some terms that people are not familiar with, but they are not like rocket science. So we put everything together so that people will be at least know, what they're talking about, and have the capability to be able to evaluate the deal and if they want to participate or not. So I think it's more or less this, and also it's like a willingness to engage, because it's like once you start investing, it's like you see so many amazing ideas of these founders like bringing to you things that you never thought about, so interesting new concepts and ways of seeing industries. It's like if you have the willingness to engage with these people and help them to grow, I think it's a really fascinating thing, besides the money and the list of like basic skills you should have.
I agree. And I think this is very important advice. And I don't think as the ecosystems of angel groups grow, like they need to understand there is a certain amount of risk associated with very early stage startups. Like, I don't know what is like the success of your portfolio companies, but it varies for everybody. And I assume like your background in consulting and software helped you do more of these due diligence, because generally what I met, people who work in these industries have a better way somewhat to evaluate, like if there is product, there are clients, it's easier to go through it. For somebody who would like to do early stage investing, what would you suggest? Where should they start from?
Well, I can tell you how I started. First, I had a startup, so I went through it, and then I decided to focus on other projects, but I wanted to be engaged somehow. And I started going to pitch, to conference, to summits, to see what was around. I was still in Brazil, so I was mainly going abroad to many conferences outside and seeing thousands of companies and startups, started learning about it. So I think exposing yourself, first, see what's around and try to go in missions, go with people, groups, whatever you feel more comfortable, but start to see. You start to learn about it. You start to see to read about what's like going on in several industries, maybe in the industry you're more familiar with. So people, for example, who are in the food industry prefer to invest in food tech, for example. So you can engage with all this innovation, and bring your expertise. So maybe that would be like a easiest way, or maybe just starting, look for a group or a club, an investment club. So when they do syndicates or they do portfolio development together, so you can join other people, and then I think it helps a lot also in the learning curve if you want to start.
You mentioned something very interesting, and it's interesting to have this conversation with you because you were on the both sides of the spectrum. So you were both founder, but you also turned investor. So I wonder, because I don't think I understood up to a point why some people don't invest outside of what they don't know. But then I started understanding that it comes with a higher risk. So I wonder, do you do investments outside your focus? What is your focus? And when you decided to go outside your focus, How did you decide to make that decision?
I worked a lot as a generalist consultant, so I worked through many different industries, and I really like it, because it's like a continuous learning type of life. And I in my portfolio, I don't have a focus. I have theses depending on the groups and the club, but and the thesis can be, for example, I'm in a club that is like projects that are catalytic, that can impact humanity, for example. And there are others that are like verticalized. So I'm in a group in Madrid, so investing in companies in Spain, but it's like cross segments, cross sectors. And I think this diversification also is very good. So I don't see myself investing in just one type of segment or sector. Because then you are risking everything on a specific industry, So I believe in diversification geographically, industry-wise, and I think it's a better way to build your portfolio.
Okay, that's a very interesting take, because what I've heard, it's like stick to what you know, do the diversification, but you mentioned something very crucial, which is also geographical, which I wholeheartedly agree. Like I told you, we first started out in Europe, and I bet you also can see differences depending where the company is located, on the level of resources they have, and what industries they have. It works better, or they have to move, which is a very interesting thing. So I wonder, when you decide to, speaking for yourself and in your experience, when you decide what company to invest in, what makes them stand out to you? I assume at this point you've seen thousands and thousands of startups, so that you end up investing in like 40 of them.
Of course, the companies, most of them, when I invest, they come from me through a due diligence that's done already by someone in the group. So it makes it easier. But even then, some of them I don't think are like a good opportunities for investment. And I also evaluate some on individual basis. I think if you're raising money with an investor, you have to come prepared, no? So I see many pitch decks that don't have a business model. They don't have, how they are going to get to the markets. They don't have a sound base for the numbers they put in. It's like they're not sounded business. Of course, there are lots of uncertainties and risks, and not everything that has a good business plan will go through. But if you just have the idea, the concept, have no idea how you're going to grow this company, then it's difficult to invest. So for me, it has to be a combination of having a good problem to solve, found a good solution that's mostly leveraged by digital tech, because then you can effectively compete in different industries, because you'll be like more cost efficient than the other companies, and have a good team who we believe are able to execute it, So I think these three things are like key. But also sometimes you don't even go ahead, talk more, because you see that many people come very unprepared, to talk to investors, think you're like more or less donating money, but we expect results, of course, no? You're investing your money in something that you believe can grow, even if it doesn't grow as much as expected, but you don't invest money to throw away money. So that's the main thing, It's like so it has to be a sound business idea, concept, way of putting things together, having a good team, all these, When one of these things fail, then it's more difficult. You can ask for more information, you can check with other sources, but then it's already like some red flags,
Yeah, so basically from the conversation and the deck basically shows you how the founder thinks, and if they have clarity of how they want to run their business. Of course, it can happen a lot of things in real life, but to have like an idea that this person has the logic of business, that they know how they're going to make money, right? Not just raise money.
Yeah, definitely, because there are many good ideas and very good technical people, for example, who are able to put it together, the solution, but then who is going to sell it? You cannot hire a sales manager to sell. It's your main purpose is to sell this thing, no? So it's sometimes the team is very skilled in one point, but it's not on the other. It's like you have to have a good complement in between the founders, no? Because if you're just in one, for example, I talk to people who want to build a very tech core type of solution, but they are from agribusiness or they are from whatever other segment, but they don't have the core capabilities of building the technical solution, and you cannot hire these things out. So it's a
Yeah.
bit difficult.
Yeah, I can also add on this from our own experience. So we are building for real estate, and both of us did not come from real estate. We both come from software companies. We did and produced products for the real estate industry, and it's always from our experience and the products that we built so far in other companies, it's always about how you get to the market. I mean, in my opinion, nowadays, especially with AI, and I would love to hear your thought about it, everybody and their mother can build a small product. It's like, how can you get to have the users, the repeatable acquisitions, to make sure that it's not just one time purchase and they're going to stick there with you? So I think, like, especially right now when it's somewhat easier to start building an MVP, not something very complex, it's like, how do you get to the market and through the noise?
You need to have a business orientation towards the company, how it's going to grow, how you're going to acquire the clients, how is it going to be sustainable, how you're going to manage the finances.
Okay, so I wonder, and this is like, because I wanted to start with the angel investing side, but what would you advise founders, because you'd been on the both sides. When do you think a founder should come to start conversations with angel investors or investors in general? At what stage of their company?
From my perspective, I think it's important to have at least some sales, but not 4 sales or 2 sales. You need a little bit more than that. You need to show that you are like a focused on a niche, for example. You cannot go, oh, my product can be good for everybody. Yeah, but if you don't have a very good strategy on how to break into a niche to then grow from there, then so I think all these combined, it's like, oh, we were able to develop this, we were able to sell this amount. It's not a lot, of course, it's like a low revenue level, but we are like growing, and we are seeing that here there is like a space to grow. We are like proven our way to sell this solution. We need money to scale this, to validate more the market fit, whatever. But there has to be something, there has to be something that proves that this solution can be valuable for the clients they are looking for. Sometimes they don't know exactly who will be the client. So there's all this type of work you have to do before, no?
So basically have the indication that whatever you're thinking about, it's working, and you have a form of validation in some sort. It's one thing that I also wanted to add, that you see a lot of founders who are backed without having a product. However, what you don't see, it's they either have the connections in the industry to sell to and it's validated, or they've done this similarly in an industry, so there's a higher chance it will work. And it's very important to point that out, because I feel like oftentimes, even with raising, and this is a conversation that I have with a lot of founders, it's not the end goal. The raise, it's not the end goal. It's just like somewhere in your journey to help you get faster to a certain point, accelerate what you have, or, power parts of the product that will make you more money, bring you more customers, have a higher impact on the world. So it's not just the end goal, and just inflate a company for valuation. Also, I wanted to point out that you were speaking for yourself like an angel investor and also like angel group. And I wanted to point out, especially for the people who are listening, you expect different types of returns compared to a VC investment. Ideally, people who go to angel groups might go to VC, but some of them just take another route. They look for M&As or an exit of like selling the company, not hitting IPO, especially since in the last period, like we didn't see many IPO exits. So everybody had to get the liquidity some way or another.
I would say the IPO is amazing, but it's for few companies. It doesn't happen for everybody. Most of the exits, it doesn't matter, VC angels, are through M&A in general. That's the industry numbers. But I would say, like, for an angel, the difference of going angel or VC is that, like, of course, if you join, like you invest in a VC, the check is much higher. There's lower risk. You have lower multiples. If you are in the early stage, you are investing low amounts because these companies don't need that much in the beginning. They need to finish their MVP to validate the market product fit, start some scale up, and then they go through series, no, from the pre-seed seed to the series A and start talking to VCs for accomplish other milestones. So I think the main thing when you are in the early stage is that the risk is higher, the amount is lower, but the multiples are also in general good, higher. So on average, the return, some studies say that the average return for angel is like a high of 27%, but it takes long. So it's not something you invest today and expect. We had an exit in 3 years with a company who was doing okay. But in general, it takes 5-7 years before these companies can now reach like Series A, Series B. Maybe you can exit through selling your shares for the new investors. So it takes a bit long for angel investment. So it's some money that you need to have invested there and don't think about it on your daily life.
Makes sense. I wanted to ask you, how long have you been doing the investing? For how long have you been investing into companies?
I invested in one individually, like more or less 8 years ago. And then I started investing more seriously through groups and syndicates like 5 years ago.
I'm curious because like the landscape always changes in what you see in the market. So you got into a market who, in my opinion, is more conservative in sense like you need to see more traction. I feel like we had an excitement at some point, but now you got to be more careful in what you invest because we do have some examples of companies that failed or did not do that well. We even had scams and frauds, and even angel groups is a good way to de-risk that thing because everybody is doing the work and you can find out more about the company. So I'm curious, what do you think we need in order to see more female investors? And the second part is like, what do you need to what do you think we need to see so we have more female founders or doing startups?
I think we need more female investors. That's something that like propelled us through the book, no? With the idea of the book, because originally we were like trying to attract more female investors. We're trying to we had a project inside Core Angels to launch a femtech group where we wanted at least 50% female founders, which was really hard. Like I think nowadays the Core Angels groups in general, like if you add all the investors in all groups and all the female investors, like 15%. So it's really hard to get women to invest, and I think there are some biases underlying this. First is like not too many women in financial or higher executive roles, so most angel investors come from these areas, these corporate executives, who see opportunities in the industry, start to join groups or to invest by themselves. There are not many women coming from this world. Also, maybe because they don't reach that higher ranks also, which is a fact, we don't see many women leading companies. And mainly it's because it was proven that this gender gap in general comes from when you had your first child. Because then the executives in the company start to doubt if you'll be able to do your job or not, because you take care of your family. So there are lots of cultural, society types of biases. That's not like to blame people, but it's like how our society works, no? So all these is like underlying types of biases. So I think when you have most males and less females, like deciding which startups to invest, as we have these days, you end up seeing more alignment to startups that are led by men, because I think we could have more than 2%, no? 2% for me is like when you see, in average, 2% of the money from VCs go to female-led startups. 2% is zero. No, you're from math area, you round it to zero. mostly. So it's like it's nothing. It's unbelievable that there are only 2% good female-led startups in the world compared, I think there are like all these types of biases that are unconscious, but they somehow are there when people decide to invest. So I really believe we need more women investing. So we have less biases. We can believe more maybe on the person who is presenting, and we can see value sometimes in types of solutions that are like maybe men are less sensitive to. So there are so many variables that I really believe that to foster more startups led by women, more founders, female founders, having more female investors would definitely help a lot.
I agree. And also, I wanted to add on top of that, like, even for everybody that's listening and wants to contribute to this, and I can speak for my experience and my team, if you offered the opportunity to write people, I'm not just talking about women right now, but other people who I like personally, I love working with underdogs. They are huge pushers. They're great startup teammates. They help you push the company forward. And basically, you give the opportunity for them to win next to you, and then they will certainly put it back into the ecosystem and give it back and feed it back. And even every founder that's listening to this, make sure you angel invest at some point, give back to the community, because this is an ecosystem. So whatever we put into the ecosystem gives back to us. And I think it's like our moral duty to, spread the word, educate people around what a startup is, and also educate about investing and the opportunities, the fact that we need innovation. Like even with your investment, like the Easy Bra, it's a thing that brings comfort to women, right? Like if you had somebody who had breast cancer or had breast surgery, and you know how painful it is for them to see them, and it's basically a way to give back. So thank you for writing the book. I love, and thank you for coming to the podcast. This is great. I wanted to ask you, given that the ecosystem has changed quite a bit, how easy or hard it is right now for startups to raise money from your point of view? I know we kind of touched a bit on it, that you need more traction.
I think it's harder these days. I remember years ago going to see startups and for pitches and conference and all this. You just needed a good idea, some like a very preliminary MVP. You didn't have access. Actually, you needed more money, I think, to start things. So people usually believe it more, and there were not too many also. Now, these days, everything is very competitive. We went through two economic crisis. We have all this uncertainty in the world now, so it's like people are more cautious also after COVID, the energy crisis, now with these tariffs going on. So I think people are more cautious on the investment side, and I think also it's the angels somehow are getting more professional. They're like learning more, like understanding what's involved more than in the beginning. So they are requiring better solutions, things that they can see, that can go through, can have success, or at least to believe in it. So I think it's we end up requiring more from founders, as I said before, like to come with ideas that it's not that they just believe in it, or they can develop the system, or they had this idea, they hire someone to do, but they can constitute this company that has a chance to actually have some success in the market. So I think we require more, these days. It's not just a nice pitch. I still see investors who are very much driven by the pitch, and some people are amazing at doing pitches. But sometimes the opportunity for me doesn't sound that good, So I think it's a mixture of how you build this thing, how interesting is the investment, in the company, and how can you sell this? How can you sell your enthusiasm? How can you sell this company, to investors? So I think it goes through it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, after, let's say you're a fantastic pitcher, once you get the money, you gotta triple it. Like, can you do that? That's the question. I mean, if you can use those skills that you pitched in sales, great. But at the same time, it's very different than just like doing a pitch, because you can do a pitch and it's same with the sales cycle. If you're a good seller and they decide to sign the contract with you, but after that the product, it's not what you say it is, it's not going to work out. Yeah, so that is that.
So I think it's harder. And AI, ML, digitalization, all these help it build these MVPs if you're from the technical side. But on the other side, how do you sell? How do you reach your customers? No? How much money you need to do it? How do you differentiate yourself? It's not a easy world. I think there are many opportunities. I think there are lots of solutions that are not here yet.
I wanted to get on the great side of angel groups and how I perceive them. You always, for somebody who's researched like the fundraising from a more technical perspective, that it's also this term of angel army. How can an angel be not just a check but can also be a value to the company? How do you see the role of an angel in early days besides financial support?
I think it evolved a lot also. And I think, at least in the groups I'm in, we really engage with the startups. We try to help them. We do follow up, of course, no, but also like we say, if you need anything, please raise the issue, and you try to help. Some in core angels, for example, we used to have like what we call archangels, who are like investors who dedicate time to mentor some startups, to help them go through issues, to open doors, to establish connections in the market. So I think it's like you invest your money, you really believe in the idea, and you want to help the most you can for these founders who don't have many resources in the beginning, because it's very few, the team is very small. How can you help them, no, to go through the hurdles and all these challenges that they will face? It's not easy to start a company from scratch, especially these days, no? So I think as an angel, I think it's very important to have this, to have this, we call inside, you see it outside also, but we used to call it smart money, which is like trying to help founders the most we can. We cannot do their job, but if you can help with advice, with connections, with whatever you can, I think it just adds value to the company, and to your investment.
So for early stage founders who are considering it, I also think that an angel group, especially if you're building something that needs connections, it's nice to be connected to other people. There's this theory like the third degree of separation, that you're connected with any person in the world like through a third degree connection. So if you can use that to your advantage as a way to distribution or anything that you need to get to your customers, and it's a good path where I think it's worth the investment. And I wanted to ask, because you wrote this book, if people were left with one main message after reading it, what would it be?
It would be it's something that I can do, it's something that's attainable, that's interesting, that can have many different motivations to do. You're a risk taker and you want to invest, and it's like to diversify your investments. You can do it because you'll be able to engage with founders who have like these amazing ideas, it's very inspiring, and see how things are changing, and maybe to be able to help these companies, and who knows, they become like the next successful ones, no? So I think there is this thing now to somehow participate in this kind of revolution, no? To learn from other angels, to learn from founders, to learn from the interactions you have. I think you can see from different perspectives, but our idea is that to say, okay, it's not for everybody, because you need some money to put it, you need some time to dedicate, but it's something that mostly everybody could do if you learn the basics and you pick a path that's comfortable for you and start doing it. So we want to make people comfortable when they're considering, maybe I should invest in startups. I have no idea how to start. So is it for me or not, So it's like, it's something that's it's feasible. It's like it's not a rocket science. It's not for people who are only millionaires, it's something you can do.
Okay, so if you read Andrea's book, you're gonna be able to know all the ins and outs of angel investing, and then you can decide whether you want to do it or not. Then I assume you can also join one of her groups. I want to shift the conversation a bit to AI right now because we briefly talked about it, and I know you told me you're also working on something with AI. So I want to ask you right now, it's like everybody and their mother is talking about AI. It's one of the topics that has bled outside our startup bubble. Like everybody heard about it. My parents heard about it, and a bunch of other people heard about it. Some people are scared about it, and it's normal in things you don't understand. You're helping companies develop AI system with strategic alignment. What is an example of such system, and what would be a benefit for, let's say, a startup or a business to adopt an AI system?
I think AI became like a buzzword because of ChatGPT, but also it's good, no? Because it made it like everybody knows, as you said. So it's like it's something that everybody's considering because you see how these things can work. I think these types of models came for a good reason, and they helped like somehow popularize it, the AI thing, no? I saw in the past many companies who wanted to get into using better data. They didn't have this AI like very clear in mind like now, but they wanted to use their data to be able to make money. And they started like they have their goals, their business goals, and they had like a bunch of data scientists working with the tech people. And these people were brilliant, nice, top notch, but they were not aligned. So there was like a gap in the middle. So you see people developing things that were not aligned with the strategy. So it was like a little bit of waste of resources. And I think now that the AI is like more top of mind of everybody because of these models, I think it's people are starting to grasp how they can effectively use it to align it to strategy. So I think there's a great opportunity now to start developing these systems that are more aligned to the existing business model, like making it more efficient, or maybe to new business models, no? Because that's the main thing now. Through the evolution, of course, machine learning was the main thing used most of the time. Still, I think it is. But there is this shift towards this LLMs-based system to orchestrate like agents, contextualizing better generation, so using this RAG system. So I think this combination is like starting to prove some value in the market, but I think there's a long way to go. I think most projects and still like gravitate around ML, machine learning, but just for the interface, it changes so much if you can at least orchestrate and interact through a chat for people. It's like it's something astonishing. Yeah, most systems are around these areas.
I agree. I think I saw recently that OpenAI bought Jony Ive's company to develop like physical products with AI. So that's going to be a very interesting next step in this AI solution. I feel like right now we're a bit stuck in a system, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that, on prompt engineering, like using these LLMs, and basically you acquire credits for them and you pay an infrastructure, whatever you're using, OpenAI, Anthropic, and other these types of models. And basically it all reverts to the prompt engineering, and it seems like it's a skill. Like I remember talking to some of my friends and telling them, oh, this is pretty cool, I just trained an LLM to be like my personal assistant, and they tell me like it gives me such plain replies, and I'm like, it's about the prompt engineering, it's the quality of it. So I wonder in this sense, because everybody right now is talking about building AI agents, how do you think AI agents will change the startup and the business world?
I think it will change a lot. We're not there yet. It's still starting. But if you think the amount of automation, even if you don't go end to end, and doing transactions, but the amount of automation you can bring to process in workflows and everything, it's like, even for people who are developing software now, using this co-pilot type of, the everything you have available to check your development, and then gives you tips on what to improve improve or what are the errors. It's like improving so much on the productivity side that I think the impact is like it's immense. I really think it's a way of going because the prompt engineering is very interesting, like on interacting with the LLMs, but then when you use them to orchestrate, and take decisions based on whatever you prompted, but to take decisions on how to use other tools to automate things, then I think there is a lot of value to be added.
So would you say like the AI agents, it's the next step after the prompt engineering? It's like an evolution.
Well, we went from prompt engineering to the regs, which is interesting because you can contextualize the prompt and then you have lower hallucinations, no? Because you are working with a specific amount of data and context, so the system perform better, but there are all types of challenges also with these systems, but there are many techniques you can work depending on what you're doing. They perform okay, quite well, but the ability to use the LLMs to decide and to orchestrate, which tool to use and the amount of tools you have available now to do whatever, there are so many tools available in these platforms that when you use these to automate like these more routine things, you improve your productivity a lot. And what I'm saying is that with that, we are like kind of needing less people to do this low-skilled job. It can be a problem because how can you reskill, no? Like, I think it's fascinating, but it has its problems, So I'm very much into AI because I don't see other future. I don't see how it's unstoppable. I don't see how it can go backwards, I don't see it because you have the compute, you have the data, the models are here. The transformer models may not be they are the best now. Maybe something else will come later. Maybe with the reinforcement learning, I don't know. But the thing is that it's getting better and better and better and better. So the things you'll be able to do, it's really, I think we are not able to grasp it yet.
Yeah. So following up on that, I had like two questions because you said it's going to impact. What industries or areas do you think AI agents will have the most impact in the near future?
We are talking basically automation, no? The first thing is like how you automate many tasks. And I think the low-hanging fruit is everything that's already outsourced because it's not the core business of the companies, no? So all these, I don't know, financial, accounting, there are so many processes. I'm not saying everything will be automated, but I also think there's a lot of value to be added, especially in health. I'm not from health, like I don't understand much, but I read a lot because I think it's fascinating. And it's like I really believe there are amazing doctors these days who learn through experience and through studying, and medicine evolved a lot on the cure, no? On the consequence of being sick. So there are people who do amazing things these days, but the knowledge is limited. And I can't stop thinking, when you get so much more data and have a system thinking, how can it be so much powerful, So I think medicine will evolve a lot. I think it will still have doctors, of course, but I think the amount of knowledge that will be available to prevent diseases, for example, is like something that we are still not seeing also. So I think there will be these two areas, like one is like maybe easier to automate, I don't know, but if you think on areas where our knowledge is limited, there's a lot of room for growth, I think.
I wanted to add on that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the company Prenuvo or you heard about it. It's a company who does like a body scan MRI, and then they give you like a result based with AI, and they tell you if they find something that seems weird, and they make you check with the medical doctor. And I feel like it's such a fascinating technology because basically it's a way to scan your body once per year and find out what's wrong with you. I have one of my friends who's done it, and she told me she's doing it every year because she has a history in her family, but at the same time, one of the years found something scary in her body, and she was able to prevent it, which was fascinating to me. So
I think you go through this direction, having these types of things like to be able to analyze the body, because these days you go to specialty doctors, no? Nobody has this holistic vision on your health and everything's related. I had plantar fasciitis, and if I don't stretch the whole fascia, I never get better, So it's like you need to have this more, the brain, for example, few people understand that. People who would put researchers put people through MRI to try to understand the emotions, everything. It's like the amount of data I think we'll be able to generate through these types of companies, no, through these types of scans or any other thing, that can even analyzing the X-rays, the amount of precision you can train the model to identify patterns, and like much smaller than a person can identify on the screen or in the printed image, So I think you'll be able to prevent much more and live healthier.
So I have like three more questions for you. You deliver courses on fintech, fashion technology, and innovation. And I want to ask you, what do all of these have in common?
It all have innovation and technology in common, because the fintech course was mainly about what are the new models impacting the industry. So we talk a little bit about credit, a little bit about the ecosystem, lending, the P2P model, and all, the implications around that, tokenization, crypto. So there's so much going on in the financial industry. So it's all about innovation and technology and how disruptive things are just coming mainstream from one day to another, no? I remember years ago, the financial service was kind of untouchable industry. And these days, it's like you see so many fintechs, no? And one is very successful. In Brazil, have this new bank. They started like years ago trying to give people better data on their credit cards. And now they're like a full digital bank in Latin America, So they're like I think it was more around that, and also trying to teach what makes a good pitch, how can you start a startup, so around these things. On the fashion, I have courses also because I'm a very curious person and I love to learn, and I end up doing stuff sometimes that is just, that I never use it much because I never worked in the fashion industry per se. But it's like such a fascinating industry. I love it, not because of the clothes, but because it's so complex. It's like it's an industry which are it's structured in a way that's very linear, no? You design, then there are many steps, but simplifying, you order it in Asia, it takes months until it gets back to you to be able to sell in the store, basically, no? From designing to having the stores. Although these days is much shorter, the path, it's still long. And what happened is that it's totally in contradiction of how people are buying and using things, because they use social media. And once lots of people use red in social media, after a while it's done. So the clothes that you order, they're coming back next month, will just go to waste. You are not able to sell. So it's a very complex, fascinating industry. And I think technology can, in fact, change a lot, the way business is done. Some companies are experimenting lots of things. And I think it's really interesting. And so I think it was related to that, everything is related to innovation, technology, and the impact in certain industries.
Yeah, and I think this is also related to my other question, because, we have interest for different areas. It's going to be health, it's going to be fashion, it's going to be building a business. And how does the knowledge transfer from one area to another? But like you said, everything is innovation.
I think innovation is a subject per se, because there are ways to build new things that you can learn. You cannot just innovate in all aspects, because then it's almost impossible. So how do you position yourself? What's your core competence? And it goes back to business also. These days, how you leverage technology, all these are so correlated. It's impossible to separate, no? So I think you end up using skills from different things you learn and combining them. But also, I really believe that there's a real power in intersections, because something that you see in fashion, for example, on the creative side or on the way some things are done there, you can translate to other business. You can think on solutions that you can bring from one industry to another. I remember back to fintechs, how banks were like just improving the mobile experience, but the service were all analogic on the bank. So people were really not satisfied at all, because they use it to buy online, to do stuff online, and then experience was not good. It took some time for banks to adjust, to better experience. Even these days, most banks, you have the stock of products, the list of products on the app is not like a very intuitive experience. You have to know what products, where to go, how to invest, how to. It's like a stock, no? A stock like it's all the services are here. Do your job, use them, no? So I think if you start, transferring, like seeing things here and there, and how I think innovation is not just reinventing the wheel, but looking around, what can we use from what's already there that can be useful for the business. So I see. I think if you just focus on one industry, it's very good because you develop a very deep expertise. But it's also good when you have like a more general perspective and maybe bringing ideas from one side to another.
I'm a huge fan of general stuff, because I often say you cannot solve a global problem if you don't understand how the world works. So so keep an open mind. And also, I was walking into a store, I can't remember the name of the store, and I bought clothes and I put my shopping cart there, and they read my entire shopping cart. I didn't have to input any type of like labels, and that was an incredible experience. I was like, oh my God, can we use this and translate it? I was thinking about grocery stores. Like, can I just put my cart there, and can that shopping store read my whole cart and input the data that it's okay or not?
Maybe it could give you some tips on some products,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, more interaction. No, I used the Amazon Go years ago. I really like it. Just walk inside, walk outside, work it. Of course, it has its challenges.
Yeah, it was challenging. So basically, there were people on the camera looking what you were taking, and they would input it. But it was a
Yeah.
nice initiative.
But in terms of the user experience,
It was beautiful. Yeah, because I used one as well before it closed. So my last question from you, then it's a question I ask everybody at the end of the podcast. To grow from 0 to 100, you need to. And here you can insert your own advice.
okay, I think having a learning mindset, we all came from zero, everybody, no? So learning mindset and curiosity, focus. If you want to grow some business, if you want to reach things in your life, you really need to focus on whatever you want to build and to develop. Resilience, because life is not easy for anybody. Building company is not easy, investing is not easy, and nothing is easy. So sometimes things will not go right, or as expected. So you need to have resilience. And I think adaptability also, because you cannot just, sometimes you hit some walls and you have to learn how to go over them or around them. So I think if you have these 4 things, I think it's you are in a good track.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to leave the book in the show note descriptions if you want to connect with Andrea and invest together with her. I'll leave the contact for her as well. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate the podcast, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you, Irina.